My name is Taylor Readyhough, and I am a Behavioral Research Associate at Denver Zoo. Today I'm going to talk to you about how socialization impacts stereotypical behavior in bull Asian elephants. This study is part of a larger study conducted by Denver Zoo in 2018 and 2019. Denver Zoo's elephant program is unique because we house only bull Asian elephants, and we house them socially. We don't house any female elephants at Denver Zoo, which allows us to have a more controlled environment. Let me introduce you to some of our study subjects. This is Billy, Bodie, and Groucho. These three bulls were the original three that we had at Denver Zoo prior to 2018. These bulls were socialized together beginning in 2016, so depending on the day, you might see them housed alone, in a pair, or as a group of three. At the beginning of our study, Billy was 11 years old, Bodie was 14, and Groucho was 49. So Groucho was significantly older than the other bulls. In the fall of 2018, Chuck and Jake joined the Denver Zoo herd. Chuck and Jake came from a zoo where they were housed together with their family groups, so they already knew each other. At the beginning of our study, Chuck was 10 years old and Jake was 9 years old. The addition of Chuck and Jake provided a unique opportunity for us to record the introduction process between these two bull groups and to conduct some scientific inquiry. With the addition of Chuck and Jake, Denver Zoo now has the largest bachelor herd of Asian elephants in North America, and as I mentioned previously, we do not house any females. Our study began in July of 2018 when we began collecting behavioral observational data and hormones. So we collected saliva and blood serum to analyze different hormone levels. However, for this presentation, I'm only going to focus on the behavioral data. We began observing those original three bulls in July of 2018 and expanded our observations to include Chuck and Jake when they arrived at the end of September. We continued observations throughout the introductory process, which began in February of 2019 and continued all the way through the end of December 2019. So overall, we observed the bulls for about a year and a half. Within our broader behavioral study, we were specifically interested in stereotypical behaviors, which we define as behaviors with no clear purpose that develop due to many different reasons over an animal's lifetime. Stereotypical behaviors are often considered an indicator of poor animal welfare, although this is hotly debated right now. Within our group, we've observed head bobbing and pacing. Head bobbing is a repeated motion of the head in a circular or swaying motion, and pacing occurs when a bull repeatedly walks the same path. We expect that stereotypical behaviors would decrease with increased socialization. So when the bulls were housed alone, we expected to see more stereotypical behaviors. Additionally, when they were housed socially, we expected stereotypy to further decrease when they were within proximity of a conspecific, and we define proximity as within 2 body lengths. We were also interested in how must would impact our bull's stereotypy. At Denver Zoo during this study, all must bulls were housed alone and were never housed socially. For those of you who are not familiar with must, it's a semi-yearly, sort of yearly change in mature males' hormonal state. It's characterized by a sharp increase in their testosterone levels that leads to a variety of physical and behavioral changes. Some of these include urine dribbling, temporal drainage, decreased appetite, increased aggression, and increased roaming in some wild bulls. Because of all of these changes, we expected stereotypical behaviors to increase during must, as the bulls were housed alone, and they also were experiencing all of these physiological changes. We collected our behavioral data using the Zoo Monitor app, where we completed instantaneous scan sampling every minute for 30 minutes. At each scan, we also recorded if the bull was in proximity to a conspecific. In order to model our stereotypical behaviors, we used binomial generalized estimating equations with a logit link function. If you have any questions about our statistical process, please let me know. and I'd be happy to speak with you individually. We looked at the changes in stereotypical behavior, both head bobbing and pacing, when the bulls were housed alone versus housed socially. When they were social, if they were in or out of close proximity to a conspecific, which we defined as 2 body lengths. And when they were housed alone, if they were in or out of must. We saw some really exciting results. In this graph, I'd like you to first look at the light gray and black bars. It's important to note here that only one individual exhibits the head bobbing stereotypical behavior in our group. So all of our head bobbing data is just for one animal, whereas our pacing data is for 4 animals. So 4 of our bulls exhibit pacing, and one of our bulls does not exhibit any stereotypical behaviors, so he is excluded from all of these analyses. We saw a significant decrease in both head bobbing and pacing when bulls were housed socially compared to when they were housed alone and not in must. We also saw a significant decrease in pacing when bulls were alone and not in must compared to when they were alone in must. So during must, our bulls were pacing more than when they were not in must, and we did not see a significant difference in head bobbing when that individual was in or out of must. When our bulls were housed socially, we saw a significant decrease in head bobbing for that one individual when he was within proximity of a conspecific compared to when he was not in proximity, but we did not see any significant difference in pacing stereotypies depending on the proximity to a conspecific. Overall, it really seems like housing bulls socially improves their welfare by decreasing stereotypical behaviors. Must also significantly impact stereotypical behaviors in the form of pacing, which might have to do with that increased roaming that we see in some wild bulls. We look forward to investigating individual differences in behavior more in the future, as well as adding in some of that hormonal data. This project was funded by the AZA Conservation Grant Fund and Denver Zoo, and I would like to thank Dr. Amy Schreier, the Denver Zoo Elephant Team, and the Denver Zoo Department of Animal Wellness and Research. I'm happy to take any questions, and if I cannot call in because I'm in and out of the field, please feel free to email me at treadyhough@denverzoo.org with any questions that you might have. Thank you.